Monique, thank you for meeting with me today for this episode of Releasing Grief. And this is going to be actually your first time speaking out publicly about child loss. In 2017, you gave birth to a baby girl. You experienced a premature labor, and ultimately your baby girl did not survive. So thank you for being here today to share your story and your journey.
Thank you for having me.
So Monique, what is your late daughter's name, full name?
Emilia Robinson.
And what was her official date of birth?
Her official date of birth was January 24th of 2017.
And what was the day that Emilia transitioned?
January 27th of 2017.
How did you initially find out that you were pregnant?
I found out I was pregnant. I think I was a couple weeks late on my menstrual. I used to work 2 jobs. I used to work at an animal hospital and then Walgreens at night. So I was just walking into work. So I was just like, I'm gonna take a pregnancy test to see, if I'm pregnant. So I went in the bathroom, I took a test, and I was like crying because I was like, oh my God, like I just started work and it was crazy.
Right, so kind of like tears of anxious because you're finding out that you're pregnant unexpectedly. Mm-hmm. And what was your family's reaction? Did you tell them right away, or did you wait and share the news with them later?
I didn't tell them right away. I waited maybe a few weeks before I actually told them.
Okay. And what about Malia's dad? At what point did you inform him that you were pregnant?
I told him as soon as I took the pregnancy test.
And can you just share a little bit about the nature of the relationship with her father? What was that like? Were you in a relationship with him? How long have you known him? Or
I met him in high school. We went to high school together. We were, friends. It wasn't anything serious. And then once we got out of high school, he had went away to college, and he used to come back from time to time, and we used to see each other, and then we became more than friends. We wasn't in a relationship, but we was young, having fun. So
what was he anticipating, or were either of you excited about trying to find out the sex of the baby? What kind of journey was it with him after you shared with him that you were pregnant?
After I shared with him that I was pregnant, initially he was, okay, like we gonna figure it out, like I'm gonna still be a father, because we wasn't ever in a relationship. We just had a good friendship, and and it wasn't until it went bad, like once he went back with his ex-girlfriend, because she also was pregnant at the time. So that's when, the situation turned bad.
So once you shared the news with your family, how were they? Were they supportive? Were they excited?
I think they were a little disappointed, only because me and, my child's father, we wasn't in a serious committed relationship, and they knew like I deserved better than that situation. So they were a little disappointed, but I mean, they tried to support me as best they can once I told them I was pregnant.
Right. And just to be clear, how many immediate family members do you have that are active in your life?
I have 5 sisters.
Okay, you have 5 sisters, and what level of involvement do you have from your parents?
I'm close with my parents, but we have sometimes like on, off again type relationships. But for the most part, we get along.
And do all immediate family members reside in Chicago?
Yes.
So let's talk about overall your experience with your pregnancy. Did you have any pregnancy complications?
When I was pregnant, I was really, really sick all the time. Like I couldn't hold anything down. I was losing weight. I was getting sick off the prenatal pills. I really couldn't take my vitamins. So I just didn't have like a good pregnancy experience because I was like always sick.
Did you receive regular prenatal care from a physician while you were pregnant?
Yes, I used to go to the doctor quite often, and they really couldn't figure out like why I couldn't hold down any food. So they was just like, try to eat like starchy food so you can hold it down. So I was eating like ravioli all the time.
Yeah, because it's something that'll stick.
Yeah.
You weren't able to carry Emilia full term. At what point did you start having signs of going into labor, and just kind of walk us through the delivery process and how long you carried her?
Well, I was about 5.5 months pregnant. So I started feeling her like kick active. Like I just started feeling her in my stomach. So it was like this one particular morning, like a few hours went by and I wasn't like feeling anything. So I was like always a worry. Like I was going to the emergency room for like everything when I was pregnant. So I had called the nurse and they was just like, maybe she's, sleeping, don't really stress yourself out about it. And then later on that day I went to my parents' house and I'm like, I still didn't really feel her moving. So then I started having like clear discharge. I called my doctor. My doctor was just like, well, if you're so concerned, just come on in. So I had went to the ER and they told me like my mucus plug had came out. That's what it was. So at that point, they were saying it's a strong possibility that, she won't survive. So they wanted they said like, they gave me the option, either you could terminate the pregnancy or you have to stay in the hospital until you actually go into labor. Because at this point, like, you could go into labor at any point. So I was like, well, I don't have nothing else to do. I could stay in the hospital, like I wasn't gonna give up that easy. So I stayed in the hospital.
And how long did you stay in the hospital?
I was in the hospital for about 3 or 4 days before I actually gave birth.
Okay. So during the time that you were in the hospital, the labor progressed? Is that what happened and you ended up delivering Emilia?
Yeah, so those few days I was in the hospital, they were just monitoring me, making sure, everything was okay. So my mother and my sister had came there and visited me. So we were just there just talking and laughing. And then I went to use the bathroom. And then I just started feeling like pressure. So I had went into labor a little bit after that. So, but they always warned me and told me like, it's a strong possibility that she won't make it, or if she do make it, like she'll definitely have like complications because a lot of her organs wasn't fully developed because I was so early in my pregnancy.
With them keeping you in the hospital and giving you that type of information, were they sending anyone to like monitor your mental health and see how you were feeling as far as receiving news like that? Was it just doctors that were working with you, or did they send like a social worker or counselor or anyone to kind of try to help you through that?
Yeah, so they definitely was sending me like counselors, mental health doctors, and they was informing me of all the different possibilities that can possibly happen.
So what goes through your mind in the hospital for 3 days and you've already embraced the idea of motherhood and you go into labor prematurely? What were you thinking over the course of those 3 days?
I was scared for the most part because I never imagined like my pregnancy like going that way. Like I was always planning like a baby shower and like because I had a 2-bedroom apartment at the time, so it was like I'm like, okay, I could start fixing her room up, like the nursery, so I just felt like, okay, I'm gonna just be in the hospital for the next couple months. Like I didn't think it would happen so fast.
And had you already selected her name prior to being admitted to the hospital, or did you select her name after she was born?
I had a few ideas, but it was like once I gave birth, it was like, okay, this name like fit her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does that name symbolize anything special, her first name or middle name, or is that just the name that you came up with? And did you come up with it by yourself?
Well, Emilia, That really just came like out of nowhere. Like it just, like I just love the name, so it was like, you know, it kind of fit her. Charlotte, it was like I tried to incorporate her father's name because his name, you know, is Charles. So that's where Charlotte came into place.
Okay. It's a very pretty name.
Thank you.
So when she was born, just to clarify, her exact prognosis or the main reason that there were complications when she was actually born was that her organs were not fully developed. Were there any other things that the doctors told you that would cause issues with her survival?
Well, yeah, mainly because her organs wasn't fully developed. Once I gave birth, like they had the respiratory team, like it was at least 20, 30 people in the room with me when I gave birth. And they really prepped me. They really, you know, prepared me for the worst, you know, because I was terrified.
What hospital was this that you were in when you gave birth to Emilia?
I was at Rush.
Okay. Because it sounds like they have really good service for mothers there. At what point did you inform Emilia's father that you were going into labor prematurely and going to be hospitalized as a result?
We really didn't have a good relationship at the time. I had to reach out to his mother to let her know, you know, to let him know what was going on. And at that time, like his phone was broken. So his mother didn't even know I was pregnant at the time. So she offered, you know, to come to the hospital, and, you know, he contacted me maybe, I want to say like maybe a day after I had her already.
And did he make any attempts to come to the hospital to see her?
No, because at that time, his girlfriend, she was in the hospital giving birth to their baby. So she had her baby a day after I had mine.
So he chose to support the other person. How does that feel? How did that feel at the time when you're giving birth and you're experiencing complications, and he's, not that he shouldn't, but giving 100% of his support to the other mother, and you're not only giving birth but also possibly facing the loss of your child at the same time, and his child as well?
At the time, I was really hurt by that situation, only because, I mean, I could understand, okay, you not even not wanting to be there for me, but it was more so like, this is your child as well. Like, your other child's mother, like, y'all have a healthy baby boy. Like, there's no really worries or any issues with that going on. So I didn't expect him to be two places at once, but he could at least like stop by for a quick second, you know, just show some type of care.
Absolutely, absolutely. Did you have any communication with the other mother at all during this time or during your pregnancy?
During the pregnancy, she was really upset at the fact that I was pregnant by him, but she knew this early on before she even decided to get back in a relationship with him. So before she came in the picture and got involved, like, we had a really good co-parenting situation because, again, we were never in a relationship. So he just always told me like he was gonna be there, you know, it was not gonna be no issue, but it was like once she came into the picture, it was just drama for us both.
I'm sorry you had to experience that. Sometimes people feel that they need to be prioritized even though they already know the backstory of things, and that's unfortunate that you had to go through that. What was your family's reaction to Emilia's being born prematurely? I know you said your mom and your sister were at the hospital with you basically when you went into labor, but as far as the rest of your family, what was their reaction to the premature birth, and was anyone with you when she actually passed away?
So once I had her, I was discharged a couple days later. So they was like, you could come by, visit whenever you want to, you know, anytime, 24 hours. So once I went home, And then I just started getting like this bad feeling, and they called me and told me, you know, her health is declining. I may want to come up there and like say my final goodbyes. So I went back up there that night. My two sisters, my younger sisters, came with me. They stayed for a little bit and they left. So I was with her like the whole night by myself. She passed away the following morning. But when she passed away, nobody was there with me in the hospital.
So how was that? Would you have preferred to spend that time with her by yourself? Because sometimes that is a person's preference. If they know that their newborn baby is going to pass away, they would rather just have that time all to themselves. Or would you have preferred someone to be there with you to help you kind of go through that?
I definitely would have preferred for somebody to be there for me. Only because, like, that's hard. Like, I've never been through anything like that before. It was just hurtful, like, going through that whole experience, like, by myself. And it's like I still resent my family so much for that, because like I didn't have nobody there to like hug me or like tell me like everything was gonna be okay. So just imagine, like, I got a chance to like, cause when she was born, like she was like in this incubator, like I couldn't touch her, I couldn't do anything, just watch her. So it's like I had a chance to at least hold her before she passed. But it was like once she passed away, like she passed away at like 8 in the morning, and I didn't leave there until like 9, 10 o'clock that night. So just holding my lifeless baby, like it was just, I didn't want to leave because I know once I left, like that was gonna be like the last time I seen her.
You said they basically gave you as much time as you wanted to spend with her. Mm-hmm. Was that time spent in the delivery room? Did they move you to another location? How was the treatment at that time? Were people in and out? Were they supporting you, the doctors and the nurses and the social worker? I know you said you want your family to be there, but did they kind of just put you in the room with her and say, tell us when you're ready or when you're okay? Or did they come in and out throughout the day and offer you any emotional support? And did they send a chaplain to visit with you at that time?
Well, she was already like in a nursery by herself. Mm-hmm. So it was just always like me and her, like one-on-one. And the doctors and the nurses, they were really, really nice. They definitely checked on me like frequently. They did bring a chaplain in, so I definitely got great care from the hospital.
So you said you knew that when you would leave the hospital, that would be the end. Were you able to have any sort of memorial service for Emilia?
I did get her ashes cremated. I chose not to have a memorial service for her, only because I didn't feel supported by my family. And it was like my child's father, he like showed me that he really didn't care about me or my baby. So I'm just like, as long as I was able to like say my goodbyes to her and get that moment with her, then that felt good to me. So